The Batman is out now, and I hope that most of you have gotten the chance to see it. It's really good. I love this movie so much the more I think about it. And the second time that I saw it this weekend, I loved it even more. So I hope you guys have a good time seeing it. This is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion on the film. But first, I do want to give a big thank you to the sponsor for this video, Displate. Displate offers countless high-quality prints on metal. They're mounted to the wall with the help of a magnet. They're very easy to hang and change designs. They have millions of cool designs available on the website for everything including gaming, movies, comics, sports, with officially licensed designs from Bethesda, Star Wars, Marvel, and much more. With Displate, you can build collections of the things that you are passionate about right on your wall. And with every Displate that you buy, you build one tree. And in honor of the Batman, I'm showcasing Batman Beyond on Displate, which is an amazing show, and if you haven't seen it, you should. This Displate is beautiful. I love the glossy metallic sheen, and when you order prints like this, you can usually tell how good the print turned out and how much care they gave to it when you look at small text. And it's really clear. They did a great job. And side point, can we have a Batman Beyond movie one day, please? I would just really love that. So please click the link in my description below to see some of my favorite Displates and to get my special discount, which will be automatically applied to your cart. It's an amazing deal and only available for a limited time. So check out that link in the description below. Thank you so much to Displate for sponsoring this video. Let's keep talking about the Batman. The film's opening sequence has a really terrifying shot. It has this wide shot where the Riddler is there lurking in the background, but the television is reflecting off of his giant glasses in a way that makes it look like he has glowing white eyes. From that shot, I immediately was like, okay, this is amazing. This is gonna be fucking good because there's so much care given to those little moments in the cinematography and the lighting that I knew that the rest of it was also going to have that level of attention to detail. And it did. But then we get a voiceover sequence where we hear Bruce Wayne talking about what Gotham City is like, how long he's been doing it, 2 years. And I was like, okay, a voiceover, that's bold. That doesn't always work. But having the film bookended with voiceover really helped, especially towards the end. And we'll talk about kind of the final message of the movie. That really meant a lot to me and that was unique, I thought, for Batman. I loved the idea that we open on Halloween, and obviously we're going into the Long Halloween comic, which is amazing, but we see criminals looking into dark alleyways in the shadows of Gotham streets, and even though Batman's not there, they're beginning to think he might be. He could be hiding in the shadows. And even Pattinson is like, I am the shadows. I was like, oh, fuck. This is good. But eventually Batman does show up in one of these dark, shadowy alleyways. And like I said in my spoiler-free review, the idea of hearing his footsteps long before he appears and just having him slowly come out of the shadows in a gorgeous fucking wide shot gave me tingles across my entire body. It was like Batman ASMR. I just felt tingles. And I fell in love with the way this movie looks. Matt Reeves' direction along with Greg Fraser's cinematography. It's the best looking Batman film that's ever existed. I'm a big fan of the Nolan trilogy, and Mask of the Phantasm I think is a legitimate masterpiece. But this movie just is on another level. Just about every shot in the movie has a staggering amount of production value put into it. And when you remember all of the difficulties they had shooting this film when it came to COVID, Pattinson got COVID, all the lockdowns and everything. Supposedly he was even directing them through an earpiece and wasn't even near them. And just knowing that all of that took place, you can't tell. The film is so gorgeously and brilliantly conceived that you just forget about the fact that there may have been any issues during production. It's invisible, which is a testament to Matt Reeves as a filmmaker. The movie also addressed something, I know other people have mentioned this, but none of the other films have ever addressed the fact that Batman straight up wears black eye makeup around his eyes underneath his mask. In Batman Returns, you can actually see where they pretend like it doesn't exist. You have Keaton as Batman here with his eye makeup. When they cut back to him, it's gone because he's going to rip off his mask and it would look weird, right? Not really. I think it helps. It adds a lot. I loved seeing him in the club, like when he would take off his cowl and have to infiltrate the club. He still had that eye makeup on. It's not going to go away. I just love that this film was so obsessed with being grounded that even those aspects, that even Nolan's incredibly realistic trilogy ignored, this film is saying, yep, he's going to have makeup all over his eyes. That's just the way it is. Something else about that club sequence that I loved is the three ways in which Batman attempts to infiltrate this club. The first time he shows up and he's Batman and he's like, do you know who I am? And they're like, yeah, man, I don't give a shit. And he has to beat them up to get in. The second time he shows up as Bruce Wayne and he's like, do you know who I am? Holy shit, you're Bruce Wayne. Yeah, go ahead. The third time, he just fucking sneaks in. He's like, fuck you guys, I'm done with you. I'm just going to sneak in behind you. I also loved how Batman and the cops were very much so at odds. This has been explored in other films. Gordon has always kind of been the savior for Batman in regards to the police officers, and he's trying to say, like, look, I know he's a vigilante, but he's trying to help. But when it comes to this movie in particular, you can tell that the cops are actually upset with Batman. Like, they don't even want him to be at the crime scene. They're like, what are you doing, Gordon? You're like, what is this guy doing here? He's a fucking vigilante. You know, they're very upset with his involvement, leading to a great scene later where Batman is captured by the police after one of the Riddler's bombs goes off and kills Peter Sarsgaard, which was a fucking riveting sequence, by the way. And we get Batman in a holding cell with a crowd of cops who want to beat the shit out of him, and I loved that scene. It was fucking great. But that reminds me, the Riddler's different puzzles, I really thought they were a lot of fun. They had a perfect amount of humor, like when Batman picks up the thumb connected to a flash drive and says, thumb drive. Just those little moments of levity do a lot for the movie. And that's retaining the sense of humor the Riddler has. Because you look at Batman Forever, which I'll always have a little soft spot for Batman Forever. I must have watched that VHS tape 1,000 times.
Now that's impressive!
Obviously, Jim Carrey as the Riddler is like the true over-the-top version of this character, but Paul Dano definitely retains some of that humor in the writing, especially like URL and scenes like that, where you have people trying to figure out these riddles like Gordon and Batman, who are very smart characters, and they go through all of these really complicated things to get to URL, and they're like, of course. And that's kind of hilarious. The Riddler is essentially saying, I just fucked with you guys so much. I made you think so hard and serious about this thing, and if you had just thought about it phonetically, you would have got it right a long time ago. I also appreciated that this movie took something that was mostly always viewed in the films anyway as a very squeaky clean element, Bruce Wayne's parents and what happened to them. It's always, you know, they died, they were great people, and it made him Batman. This movie was like, well, what if they kind of made like a couple mistakes and tried to hide that? They're not necessarily bad people, but they are not perfect. I really appreciated that because it also gives Bruce Wayne a lot of conflict because he's made this choice to do this incredible thing with his life based off of something that he is now learning may not have been entirely perfect. And so seeing the character deal with those repercussions and learning to better himself because of them, because he has an opportunity to kill Carmine Falcone or Falcone. These movies tend to decide how they want to pronounce it. And he doesn't. He actually stops Catwoman from killing who we learn is her father, played by John Turturro. Even though this man is responsible for the death of his parents, he still doesn't let it happen. The film also did something very unique in that I'm pretty sure, I've only seen it twice, but I'm pretty sure they only actually say Batman once. I could be wrong, but there's a scene near the end where Bruce begins to think the Riddler knows who he is. And he looks at Gordon and he says, maybe this is all coming to an end. What? The Batman. So throughout the whole movie, his entire mantra is vengeance. He's there to inflict fear upon Gotham so that they stop committing crime. And in the beginning of the movie, the voiceover, he says, I don't understand. The crime is up. 2 years into this and everything is up. What am I doing? At the end of the film, when he captures one of Riddler's goons and the dude is like, I'm vengeance, you get this incredibly powerful moment where Batman just looks at that guy and is like, fuck, I know what I'm doing wrong. Which is something I also want to talk about. This movie does a lot with silence. Matt Reeves did a great job with just having Batman communicate things without saying anything. A prime example is when he is in the Riddler's apartment by himself and a cop comes in and it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Batman just looks at him. And the guy's like, never mind, go ahead. Then Batman goes for a piece of evidence and he grabs the evidence. The guy's like, hey, you can't touch that. Batman just looks at him. The guy's like, oh, fuck, never mind, go ahead. I love that scene so much. And the same thing happens at the end when Batman looks at that criminal and hears the same words he's been telling criminals on the street come out of that guy's mouth. And he realizes that the reason he hasn't been making the impact that he wants to make is because inflicting fear into the populace to keep them from committing crime isn't really going to solve the problem. He realizes that people need a beacon of hope. And we get that amazing scene where he's carrying someone to a stretcher and they don't want to let him go. He puts them in the stretcher and they don't want to let go of his arm. And he puts his arm like on the woman's hand, and he realizes that like inflicting fear and vengeance upon the criminals does something, but it's not what the city actually needs. They need a symbol of hope. And I thought that was fucking genius. I can't tell you how satisfied I was with this film. It just felt right to me. There are potentially better Batman movies. Like, for me, it's very tough to beat Mask of the Phantasm and The Dark Knight, but this is extremely close and just fucking good. And I don't like playing the compare game. I don't. I know that people kind of like want to hear that thing, which is why I said it. But I just like appreciating a film for what it is. And I think Matt Reeves and a company did just fucking phenomenal with this movie. When I was a kid, I had a cassette tape. It was a Batman audio drama. I must have listened to that 100 times. It was with Two-Face and the Riddler, and I don't remember exactly what it was called, but I loved that thing so much. I haven't listened to it since I was like 8 years old, but it's probably very cheesy. But the feeling that I had while listening to that when I was 8 years old was the same kind of feeling I got while I was watching this movie. It just felt like Batman to me. The interpretation, the portrayal, Pattinson is fucking amazing in the film. And I loved that he wasn't the playboy billionaire out in public. This movie didn't need that. And we've seen that many times. This film was like, what are most billionaires like? I mean, how many times are you going to see like Jeff Bezos or whatever, like at Walmart? Probably not that often. So even when Wayne goes to the funeral, he tells Alfred, I'm only going here because serial killers tend to like to watch this kind of stuff, and maybe the Riddler will actually be present. And while he's there, people are like, holy shit, Mr. Wayne, what's up? Like, it's nice to see you in public, in person, you're alive. He doesn't need to have that persona. He doesn't need to go to a restaurant and write a check and buy the place and then have women swim in the pool. Like, that doesn't have to happen for this version of Bruce Wayne, at least in this movie. Maybe in the next one, they could explore that. Just like how Spider-Man wasn't working for J. Jonah Jameson and taking photos for the Bugle in Homecoming. You know, we're like getting to a point where he feels more like the classic Spider-Man we knew at the end of No Way Home. And I just, like, I can't tell you how much I zeroed in on Pattinson's portrayal of Wayne. It just felt like the right kind of portrayal for someone who's dealt with actual real-life trauma. And it all just worked brilliantly for me. Now, the one scene in the movie that I didn't really need, that felt very contractually obligated to me, but of course, I don't know, that I wasn't there, I could be completely wrong, was the inclusion of Joker, played by Barry Keoghan. I don't know how to pronounce his name, actually. He's a great actor, but he's kind of in shadow throughout the sequence. I think he's credited as unseen prisoner. He's there with Riddler in prison after all the floods and all the action at the end happens. And he laughs, and the Joker's in this world, I guess. And what intrigues me about this scene, actually, is like, who is this guy? Is he the Joker yet? Has he been captured by Batman? Did Batman already have a scuffle with this guy? Or is he just like at Arkham Hospital because he's got some issues? You know, like, I just want to know, like, what's the backstory there? But I didn't really like, oh, it's another Joker. Like, because I guess it felt kind of like special that Joaquin just did it. And I get that this is a different timeline. And it also just felt like, well, we have to set up a sequel. So here's the Joker. But at the same time, I don't know if that'll be a sequel. Matt Reeves could just be saying, there's a lot of folks in Arkham right now, and here's one of them. Like, we don't know what they'll do. I am very excited for more. I just really love this movie. Now, I have already made a thank you video to the backers on Kickstarter, We reached $251,000 in 24 hours, and my mind is blown. I have already made a special thank you video for the over 2,000 backers that have stood up to support our independent film Shelby Oaks, and I am just absolutely, completely grateful to those people who have done that. I'm so, so happy. We're currently almost at 300,000 last time I looked, which it's truly, honestly, like I can't say this enough. It shocks me that people are like invested in this and want to help me and understand how much this means to me, like just genuinely how much I have given up in my life in the past to pursue the dream of filmmaking. And you are proving all of the people who told me back then that I shouldn't even try wrong. You guys are helping me do that, and I can't even thank you enough. But the campaign is not over. It ends on March 26th. It is still going strong. I am still seeing numbers every day. We want to do more for this movie because if I am being completely honest, and I think if you guys know anything about films and how they get made, $250,000 is the bare minimum to get this film made. And we will still be just barely scraping by. And there will be so many sacrifices still made at that level. I'm incredibly grateful for it, but we want to do more. That's why we've introduced stretch goals. A lot of people on Kickstarter have said that they were interested in stretch goals. If we can reach some of these goals by the end of this campaign, it will literally change this movie. It will change the trajectory of this movie. And you guys have shown me that that is possible. And I am just so excited to make this movie the way it should be made, bypassing the Hollywood system and not worrying about any of that and genuinely making the film the way it needs to be made. You guys have shown me that's possible. So here's some of our new goals. If we can reach $400,000, we'll be swapping out CGI for practical effects in key scenes, including hiring a veteran special makeup effects designer to join our crew. And we'll also share how we created those effects with a special featurette just for backers. They can watch the makeup being applied, they can learn more about that art, and learn from someone who's genuinely one of the best in the industry. If we reach 500, that will enable us to pursue two dream locations, an abandoned amusement park and the legendary Shawshank Prison in Ohio, as well as fund the extra gear and lighting we'll need to showcase them. And I will also do a live digital watch party of the film once it's released with backers, and we'll watch it together live. We'll have a chat. It'll be great. The thing about Shawshank Prison is that I have shot a review there in the past, and I know them, but it is not cheap to film there. Sylvester Stallone shot a movie there. You know, it is not cheap to shoot there. And we want to shoot there for a while, at night. So we have to light up this entire prison and really make it beautiful. And this is like a 7-story prison. We want to shoot there and we want to make this movie as best as we can with this incredible location that is genuinely a dream. So if we can hit 500, we can shoot there. At 600, we'll hire a veteran name actor for a key role. We'll also upgrade to real police cars and ambulances, and we'll also be adding a backer-only commentary track featuring myself and producer Aaron B. Kuntz. So an exclusive audio commentary on the film that's just for the backers. But the actor thing is something I am so excited for, and we are so fucking close to this possibility. I obviously can't say the person because we're not there yet, and I don't want to put it out there, but it would literally be like the greatest fucking thing. I was also told, and this really surprised me, we are currently the 3rd highest grossing horror movie on Kickstarter ever. And it doesn't even end till March 26th, this campaign. And so I genuinely believe that we can get to number 1. I think that would be actually newsworthy. I am so excited to make this movie, and I have been in the Discord. There's 13,000 people in this Discord. I've read your comments in the Discord. I've interacted with you there. I've made update videos on Kickstarter for the backers. And you guys are fucking amazing. I legitimately love you guys. Like, I'm so happy that you're interested in supporting this film, but we really do need to go further if we're going to make this movie the way it needs to be made. And I hope you guys will join me on that. So please check out the Kickstarter link in the description below. And the campaign runs till March 26th. I want to do this, and I want to make the best movie for you guys that I can. I genuinely want to show people in Hollywood that there is a viable path for people on this platform to bypass all of the supposed gatekeepers that we're supposed to go through before we can get something like this done. And I thank you guys so much for helping me thus far, and I hope you continue to. Again, thank you so much. I am just so grateful. Look forward to more videos very soon. Thank you as always for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.